Are you being true to yourself? Are you being authentic to the genuine person that you are deep down inside? When I say authenticity, sometimes it's hard to know if we are embodying our authentic essence or not. So I'm going to ask you a question and we're going to decide from there whether there is any work we need to do to step into our most authentic self. Welcome back to the caravan, the Luna Caravan, the channel where we talk about nothing tangible at all. My name is Mei, and today's topic is authenticity. So I told you I'm going to ask you a question, but we're also going to talk about the blockages, how to overcome our blockages in order to live a more authentic existence. And we are going to wrap it all up with how being our most authentic self benefit us. How often do you do things that you don't feel like doing, but you end up doing it because you feel obligated to? You feel guilty otherwise. You feel like it is something you have to do, even though the thing itself doesn't serve you. It's not embettering you. It's not serving the higher version of you. It's not something you're doing for your own self-development, but it is something that you do because you're afraid not to. That's the question that we have to answer to see if we are living in our most authentic essence or not. So let's start with the blockages. At what point did we stop being authentic to ourselves? Because we all came into the world a pure, genuine being. We came into the world knowing nothing but how to be ourselves. We are true to ourselves in the very core because that's all we know. All we know is our existence and nothing else. So innately, all of us at some point are connected to our authenticity. So at what point did we stop being authentic to ourselves? As we grow, we learn to pick up new insecurities. We learn to pick up a lot of insecurities from our environments. We learn to pick up insecurities because we feel unsafe in our environment. We feel unsafe in our body. So we learn to compromise. We learn to compromise ourselves, and we end up compromising our authentic essence along the way. At some point, we are very aware that we are giving up our authenticity because it doesn't feel right to us. But we learn to neglect that feeling. We learn to ignore it because we are willingly giving up our authenticity as a compromise for our security, for our sense of safety, so that the people around us could accept us, so that we could feel safe in our environments. So now that we understand why we lose our authenticity over time, let's talk about how to get it back. We rely on our ego. It's the human mask that we wear for the world. As we lose our authenticity, we have to compromise it by building up our ego. So the ego is all the things that are physical, that are tangible, that is a symbol of your identity. But we know that's not your identity because that's not your authentic identity. It's the physical, material symbols that represents your identity. And you have relied on these symbols, on these material possessions, whether it's your name or the school you go to or the kind of car you drive. These are the things that we think define us, when in reality, it doesn't. You are not how much money you have. You are not the kind of car you drive. You are not the school you go to. So once we learn to disengage from that narrative, we get more in tune with who we are. We get to discover our true essence once we let go of our ego. And it takes some time. It takes some time to discover who you are without the things, without your possessions, without your accomplishments. Observe your own thoughts and stop receiving inputs from your environment. We cannot be authentic to ourselves if we keep listening to our environment, to the voices that's around us. If we keep relying on others for advice, we're just going to continue taking their advice instead of listening to our inner voice, instead of coming up with the decision by yourself. In order for us to come back to ourselves, to come back to our authentic core center, we have to let go of all the external inputs, to stop relying on advices from others, to stop looking for validation from anywhere outside of you. Because we all have an internal voice. We have an internal voice that tells us what the answers are. All of us, we know what to do as long as we take the time to connect back to the inner voice. Be aware of where you are holding yourself back. So, this could manifest in one particular feeling, and that is the fear of judgment. You hold yourself back because you are afraid to speak up. You are afraid to say what you want. You are uncertain. You feel insecure in your body that maybe people would laugh at you, so you hold back. You don't say what's on your mind, and over time, it starts becoming a habit. If you hold your voice back, your voice is going to get smaller and smaller. So in order to break out of our fear of judgment, we have to stop holding ourselves back, regardless of how it feels. I know it's scary, but you owe it to yourself to be authentic to yourself. Asking for what you want, that sort of goes almost hand in hand with holding yourself back. You have to ask for what you want without being afraid of that fear of judgment. So if you want a favor from someone, instead of telling yourself, you know what, it's fine, I could do it on my own, I don't need to ask anyone, because I have been there. I don't want to ask for help. I don't want, because it feels uncomfortable asking for what you want. But if you truly want something, you owe it to yourself. You truly want it. You, authentically you want that thing. So don't be afraid to ask for it. So we're gonna wrap this up with the why. That's your reason, that's your motive, your intention. Why do you need to be authentic? Because when we don't know why we want to do something, it's so hard to continue pursuing that goal. There's some part of you that know that you want to be more authentic, but you never ask yourself why. Why do I want to be more authentic? And I have been on the authenticity search, the journey. Authenticity is a journey. So we all have different journeys, the healing journey, the spiritual journey, the self-development journey. Authenticity is a journey too. That is a journey back to ourself, knowing who we are unapologetically. So I will give you my reason for why I wanted to embark on that journey to find myself. My reason is freedom. My reason is not being afraid to show myself, to overcome my fears. The reason is self-empowerment. When you give yourself the permission that you don't need to act anymore, you don't need to put on a mask, then you are free. You are free to be authentically yourself. You don't need to act to be anyone. You can just be. You could just exist. Existence is enough. Being your authentic self is enough. Because authenticity is an art. Your truest essence is an art. We all owe it to ourselves to become authentic to ourselves. Thank you for joining in with the Luna Caravan. I'll see you next time. Auf Wiedersehen. Oh yeah, and like and subscribe and stuff.